Innocent heart of God, you've come into this lifetime to accept the divine light that is within you and to remember this divine light, to remember that the divine spirit that you are, the one, is in perfection as it has always been, as your true nature has always been, the light of God, the innocence of God. You have wandered through the desert, lifetime after lifetime, believing in the roles and identities that have been erroneously perceived. But in this erroneous perception, you have made agreements with everyone and everything within this illusion to continue battling, to continue striving, and in the belief of the need for protection. Has anyone remembered? Of course, yes. That is the whole purpose of the journey within the world. That's the whole purpose of entering into incarnation. Even while you have walked this earth, there has been something within you that could not reconcile lifetime after lifetime after lifetime of the same type of journey, battling, proving, winning, conquering, defending. The truth of sanity will eventually come to every mind and to every heart. But the choice is within each. The choice is the choice to love, to see the divine, to see the light, to drop the swords of separation, and to embrace the holiness of all creation. In this moment, it is the simplicity of the everyday life that offers the way home. It is the simplicity of the recognition that in every moment is the opportunity to offer love. Every moment has no other purpose. And the choice is the only freedom. Until even choice falls away because you have chosen. You have chosen the truth of love, and nothing now will exist in any way, even in the insanity of the mind. There will no longer be an opposite. There will no longer be good and bad and right and wrong, more and less, and light and dark. All of these illusions will have disappeared. because the heart said yes and chose finally, chose completely the yes to love. Inviting in with that yes, the power of transformation, the healing power of the light of God. That as you offer all of the erroneous identifications and roles that have been made in the name of separation and fear, the light will dawn. The light of truth will dawn into the heart and cleanse the mind of all its made up, fabricated identities. Moment to moment in the everyday life, every beloved is blessed to have exactly the perfect situations, the perfect relationships, the perfect situations of all kinds. And in those situations and in those relationships is the opportunity to learn to love. There are no mistakes in any situation and in any relationship. Everything has been perfectly orchestrated to give you the opportunity to remember and to see what you have been believing in by seeing it through the lens of how you see everyone and everything. The outside is the reflection, the mirror that appears to show you what your beliefs are that are hidden in the mind of insanity. This is the blessing of love. That gives every beloved the perfect mirror to see what's been believed in. And all that anyone has to do is to say, yes, I'm willing. Show me. Show me the reflection. And I will choose to surrender what I think I know and accept the transformation of love's healing. This divine alchemy of healing is the power of God that moves through the universe, answering every call for help, answering every call for light. No one is ever without the answer. No one is ever without the divine power of that alchemy of healing. Love answers every call without exception. But call we must. Call is essential. The willingness to see the world through the lens of love and to happily let the lens of separation be shattered so that it will disappear into the ethers of love and no longer be even a hint of separation. Every beloved questions the authenticity of this power because the mind says, how could this be? How is it possible that there could be such a power? of love. How could this be? That there is a world that is without judgment, without illness, without death, without battle, without hatred. And yet, every master that has walked the earth and every divine being that has heard the call of humanity's cry reassures gladly, constantly, oh yes, this is the true world. This is the true life that is waiting to be remembered, waiting for every heart, for every soul to come back into divine union, into oneness. And remember, the healing is so simple because all it is remembering. That is how powerful the mind is. Whether it is used for hatred or the mind is used and surrendered back into the hands of God to be used for love, the mind is the power of God. Even if that mind has been split and used in the belief of hatred, surrender the power that was given originally to you by God back into the hands of God to be used only for love, to reunite in the truth of oneness. The power of healing is a power that is given by God, created by God, and chosen by every beloved. Every beloved that incarnates into the world of separation believes in the identity of being a victim, in the identity of being without, and that the world is doing something to you rather than it is the power of your mind that is making a battleground out of a self-hatred that cannot even be fathomed in the truth of love. Hatred is a concept that has no reality. Love has no equal. Love is all that there is. Nothing else truly exists at all. Can this be accepted? Yes. This could be accepted in a moment, in a holy instant. This can be accepted, and transformation can be complete. But because of fear, because of resistance, because of the arrogance of knowing, each beloved, with a few exceptions, believes so much in self-hatred and self-attack that it seems normal to make even the journey of love difficult and a battleground until it's finally accepted and the white flag is raised. And you become so tired that you can't battle anymore with the truth. And the white flag is happily raised in surrender, not because you are losing, because the white flag represents the return of love. There is no loss in remembering the truth of love. All that you have hung on to of the past, of identity and roles, and succeeding and winning, all of it disappears. And it never had any worth. It just was the waste of time. Surrender time into the hands of the Holy Spirit. Surrender it all. Every beloved will come to the deep realization that in the prayer, I surrender everything that I thought I knew, and I surrender everything that is not of God. And in that leap of faith, the divine alchemy of love can bring the miracles of transformation. And the holy instant can be used for its true purpose of returning home, easily and effortlessly. Innocent and free, eternal and perfect, living in the holy union of love as one. But as the journey is here, the perceived journey is truly a journey without distance and must be remembered as such, that it is truly a journey without distance to a place that you've never left. And in the awakening, every beloved recognizes, oh, the rest of that made up story that I believed in so deeply, so tenaciously, and that I gave my allegiance to, never really was. Only love is real. And in this moment, that acceptance, as you take each day, moment to moment, with the opportunity of the healing of the heart, the healing of the mind, each day, step by step, breathing and beginning again, breathing and accepting again, breathing and praying again, praying for strength, praying for light, praying for awareness, praying for the strength to surrender. The heart says yes, by your choice, your divine choice. And finally, the deep and all-encompassing forgiveness of the mistaken world and the mistaken identity that never was. Forgiving yourself and accepting the light of love. Forgiving yourself for all the mistaken identities that were made of everything within form, within the belief of temporary life. forgiving yourself for the belief of the past, the belief of separation, as the heart says yes joyously, joyously, with all trust and all surrender, joyously. Joyously accepting, I'm so glad I was mistaken. I'm so glad my story wasn't the truth. I'm so glad to surrender the mine, the ownership of a separate identity, happily surrendered into the bonfire of love, accepting transformation, accepting the one heart. And affirming in this moment that here, in the complete union of love, there is only one. This sanctuary is filled with love because love is all that exists. This universe is all love. Nothing else exists. There is only one presence here. It is the life force of God. And no beloved can do anything that changes that life force of love. And it is within this life force of God that we live and move and breathe and remember as one. One heart and one breath in the devotion, in the exhilaration of truth, as the heart continues to say yes. Allow this prayer to sing through your heart. Allow prayer and the sacred music of love to fill your heart in every moment as you walk in this world, truly letting the light of God be the complete presence within your mind and your heart. Praying constantly in divine communion and resting in the complete love that is always offered. Oh, teach me to open my heart to those who come here to be healed. Teach me to open my heart to this love, to heal all the pain of this world. We have strayed from the love of our Father and wandered in pain since our birth. It was Jesus who came here to save us all, to release all the pain here on earth. Oh, my mother, the queen of the sea, it's your love that I feel inside me. Oh, teach me to love from the depth of my heart, to heal all the pain that I see. My Father is here with his love. He shows how to care for us all. He loves everyone who has answered this call. All those who have answered this call. Teach me. Teach me to open my heart, and you will learn. When you ask for help, help is given. Teach me to open my heart, to accept every beloved as the divine, to accept every form that I have given a different name, letting it all return to the one name of God. Teach me the truth of the divine mysteries of love itself. Teach me how to walk in this world, offering love without being of it, offering only love, blessings, and forgiveness in every moment. Teach me. Oh, my Queen Mother, my Divine Mother, you come to us now, and I ask you to open my heart. Open my heart so that I can see. Come to guide my life. Oh, my Blessed Mother, I'm willing to be guided. Come, come with all of your light and show us the way. Come to illuminate the hearts of every beloved. Come to give light to those who can't see, as I offer my love with yours. Come to give light placed in every heart, so that remembering becomes easy and graceful. Here I receive you and I prostrate myself at your feet. My heart I give to you, and I ask you for faith in every moment. Faith. I ask you for faith here within my heart. I ask you for the awareness of light. Oh, my Queen Mother, please guide all beloveds in the name of love itself, for all beloveds to come to the door of love and enter together as we learn to love. Oh, minha Senhora Mãe, Senhora da Conceição, venha agora conosco, abrir meu coração para eu poder ver. Vem guia minha vida, ó Virgem da Conceição, vem dar luz aos teus filhos, vem proteger os meus irmãos, vem dar luz aos que não vêm, vem dar luz ao coração. Aqui eu te recebo, prostrado aos vossos pés, meu coração te dou, te peço a minha fé, te peço a minha fé, dentro do meu coração, te peço a minha luz, ó Virgem da Conceição, guia os meus irmãos, para todos juntos chegar no porto divino, depois que soubemos o amar. Please guide all beloveds. This is at once generosity of the heart to serve all beloveds, and at the same time, the calling of love to your own heart, because as every beloved is guided, it's the recognition that all beloveds are called to return as one. Each beloved who has found the heart and the sanity must extend their hands and their hearts to every beloved who walks the earth, by blessing every beloved, by the willingness to embrace and see the holiness, the exquisite beauty that is beyond the body identity, to let the Holy Spirit show you the way beyond the illusion of form, and to see the divine content that is waiting to be recognized in the truth of every beloved, that every beloved is the Christ, the Holy One, who has come to help you remember. Every beloved is you. There are no two. There is only one. And in a moment of insanity, that oneness fragmented into a prism of seemingly separate lives and separate identities. None of that is true. Return. Return to the heart and to the oneness of all life. Return, holding the hands of every beloved, holding the hand and the heart of every beloved with true forgiveness, joyously celebrating the truth of love. This is the way home. I have come into this world to see this. I have come into this world to see this. The sword drop from men's hands, even at the height of their arc of anger. Because we have finally realized there is just one flesh to wound, and it is the Christ's, our beloved's. I have come into this world to see this. All creatures holding hands as we pass through this existence we share on the way to even a greater being of soul, of being of just ecstatic light, forever intertwined and at play with the divine. I have come into this world to see this and to hear this song, every song the earth has sung since it was conceived in the divine's womb. Every song the heart should cry with magnificent dignity to know itself as God. For all other knowing will leave us again in want and aching. Only imbibing the glorious Son will complete us. I have come into this world to experience this, beloveds, so true to love that they would rather die before thinking or speaking an unkind word. I have come into the world to see this, the sword drop from men's hands, even at the height of their arc of rage, because we have finally realized there is just one flesh we can wound, and it is our own. Every beloved has come into the world for this one journey together, to see the light of God, to see past what has been made out of nothing, and to celebrate the glory of the dropping of the swords into the light of love. Every beloved. In the world of separation, in the perception of this world, it is the temptation of the everyday life. The temptation of the everyday life is to join in separation, to believe business as usual, to get caught in the identities that have been produced to affirm that separation is real. And the evidence is so strong because the power of the minds that have made separation have made a very powerful argument that separation is real. Everything that you have believed in from the moment that you incarnate into the world is about separation. Every single element of learning within the world has been about separation. Affirming differences, affirming that there is something to strive for, that there is something to protect and defend. And make no mistake, this world has been made with the lie of scarcity at its center. The belief of scarcity, not having enough, is everyone's creed in the belief of separation. To have to fend for yourself, prove of yourself, figure out your life, and in the belief of being a victim of something outside you. Who wouldn't believe such a convincing story when it's all that you see and it's all that you think you know? And then only at some point in some lifetime do you come to the realization, this cannot be it. This makes absolutely no sense except to the insanity of battle. When a beloved recognizes that, and the beloved that was known as Hafiz is able to put down in words the recognition of what everyone has come here for, that everyone has come believing in one belief of, I came for this, I came to succeed, I came to make my mark in the world, I came to prove my worth and to get what I deserve. The belief of scarcity itself makes love impossible. It's not possible in the belief of scarcity to accept love. In the belief of scarcity, by its very nature, scarcity holds everyone in suspicion. If you have a family of 10 and you have 8 pieces of pie, everybody becomes the enemy. Everyone becomes the suspicion. Everyone becomes the threat. The truth of love is so beyond the scarcity of this world. The scarcity isn't real, but it is so believed in that you see it in everything and in everyone. And there is even a belief in this world that it is love to have pity for those who are without. That you actually believe that there can be a part of God that is without, and not recognize that this identity has been made without God. It has been self-made and has no truth. To open to the abundance of love is to recognize that when there is one beloved who is having a piece of pie and there's only one piece of pie, that you are nourished through that beloved having that pie. That you are so much in oneness that the joy is there and the fulfillment is there and the fullness is there from the other beloved having the piece of pie, as if there was another. The joy, the happiness, the fulfillment is always there because there is no scarcity. When you hear another beloved playing a musical instrument that you have no clue how it is even played, and they play this instrument with such beauty that tears come to your eyes and your heart is filled with gladness. And in that moment, you can actually realize that that music is yours in the oneness of love. That you are in the beauty and perfection of that beloved who is playing. And that you are one in the truth of that beauty. That whosever form is being used makes absolutely no difference to the music itself. This the mind cannot totally grasp, because the mind that made up the belief of separation sees only through scarcity and lack, and sees only forms as real and proving separation. There is no end to the joy and happiness that is available in every moment as each beloved is seen as the divine. There's no limitation at all. I have come into the world to see this, to see the sword drop from men's hands, even at the height of their arc of anger. This is the joy. This is great joy. And even if you are not seeing these beloveds drop the sword, your heart can be filled with joy because you're willing to accept that that anger was never real, that that anger was made up. It did nothing, and the swords did nothing, because the swords and the anger cannot touch the truth of God. that is the truth of the entire universe. The dropping of the swords is a place of happiness because the beloved has found the heart within. And you join in that heart. But you are called to join those beloveds who are still holding the swords, and to bless and to honor these beloveds as the truth of God. That is the offering. I have come into this world to see this, all creatures holding hands as we pass through this existence. We share on the way to a greater being of soul. Do hands have to be held? Yes, they do. No one can run through those doors of truth, leaving behind anyone. No one can be left out behind the door. No one can awaken until every beloved returns to the oneness in remembering. The awakening cannot be completed for any divine being until all of God's creation remembers. This is not a curse. This is because there is only one, and the oneness cannot be complete without all of the oneness. What do you believe someone has done to keep them on the other side of the door? What do you believe in that says there is a distinction between beloveds that separates by behaviors, by evolution, even by the wanting? The comfort of the heart comes from the recognition that no one will be left without. It is guaranteed. And that is the really true comfort. That's the comfort of the heart. The ego has no care, no concern, no intention of being concerned or anything else for anyone else's well-being of truth. But the heart that has said yes and accepts can feel that joy in that guarantee that everyone will remember. Everyone. Let me perceive only love, first perceiving and then seeing with complete clarity in the truth of love. How is this possible for everyone to awaken? When every beloved has looked within and seen no lack. Because that's where the healing is, within. To accept the light of God is within you. And to meet that light, to accept that there is no lack within you. And that the mind that has been made up, that left the truth of God, in theory, that mind sees only lack. that mind sees only vengeance. That mind sees only battle and sees only death. That mind is clever enough, devious enough to let the belief in lack come in 1,000 different forms in the everyday life. All day long, the ego mind can see a world of separation. It is only because that mind is actually asleep, living in an illusion, that it can be so convincing. And it is through the willingness to actually awaken, consciously awaken. What is that conscious awakening? Conscious awakening is the willingness to be present, to really be here in this moment, not in the past, not in the future, here, now, and bring full attention to the love that is here in this moment. Not the love that you know, the love that you are willing to enter into and embrace. That love is within you. It is who you are, completely who you are. But the mirage, the fantasy, the trance has been so powerfully held as true that you have to really want to go beyond it. And every beloved will truly want to go beyond it. Time doesn't matter. Time has absolutely no essential regulation to healing at all. I remember in the journey of healing coming to the realization that I had to truly let go of the concept that I was in a hurry to remember. Even that had to be let go. That it didn't matter in time, that putting it all into the hands of God and trusting the unfolding in its perfection of God's healing, I could rest. I could rest in God and trust that it didn't matter how God used time. I was just available. I was not in charge of time. One more erroneous idea of personal ownership had to be let go. Surrendering time into the hands of God to be used for love. Do what I cannot do. Harness time. Harness time to be used by the Spirit of love. And have no more concerns or thoughts of quickness or slowness or more or less or anything else. Healing was in God's time. And the truth was that there was really nothing to heal, because illusion is just illusion, not true at all. When your heart is ready to be full, when you are willing to be filled with love without conditions, when you are ready to be filled with love just because you're so happy that only love is real, when your heart is full, no thought can stay in the mind. When you are focused on the heart, no thought can stay in the mind. It's not possible, because all of the consciousness is going to the heart. All of the truth is in the heart. And the mind can be emptied and returned to God easily and effortlessly. Is the journey of love a journey of choice? Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Constant choice. Choice that you never thought was possible in the world of separation. You thought you were making choices before, but in actuality, in the belief of separation, you're not making choice at all. You're choosing between two elements of the ego constantly. You're choosing between the belief in light or dark. You're choosing between good and bad. You're choosing between more and less. You're choosing between winning and losing. This is not a choice. This is deception. These are lies. When you're choosing between light and dark and good and bad and right and wrong, you're choosing between the ego and the ego. There's nothing to be chosen there. That's the ego's great laugh. It's like being in a comedy club. And everybody's in on the joke. That all you're doing is choosing the same thing over and over and over again. And it doesn't make any difference whether you choose good or bad or right or wrong, more or less. It's not of God. It's just made up. And it will never bring you to a place of joy, and it will never bring you to the truth of love. It's not possible. So the call is to the real choice, the choice between fear and love, the choice between hatred and love. Hatred and fear are the same. The ego doesn't want you to see the hatred in its vastness of the mind. It would like to use other words and other expressions and other feelings to camouflage the hatred, which is all self-hatred. Camouflaging the hatred with irritations, with disturbances, with upsets, with unease. But make no mistake, everything that is not peaceful and harmonious and joyous is not of God. And it's all the same thing. There's only choosing between hatred and love, fear and love. So everything else is fear. And that is the journey, the recognition of what's in the way, what we have made that is our self-attack. Imagine with consciousness that you would wake up in the morning and say, Today is a day that I give to self-attack. Today is a day that I give to difficulty and battles, suspicions and hatred. Well, everybody would say nobody's willing to do that, and yet that is exactly what everyone is doing when you're not choosing love. To choose love is to choose God. To choose love is to choose light. To choose love is to choose peace and harmony, happiness, and eternal life. Why is it that spiritual teachings are so pointed? Because they really have to be. Spiritual teachings have to be very pointed because of the ego's defense system that likes to play games of what it thinks it knows and what it's willing to accept and play games with, particularly good and bad. Good and bad is essential to the ego's domain. To be deciphering all day long and choosing between good and bad of assessments. I like this, I don't like this. This is acceptable to me, this I don't like. All day long is to keep you in the dark so that you think that you're making progress because you're honing an identity. You're honing a distinction of what you find acceptable and what you don't find acceptable. And you're developing in your mind a concept that you're making a better life for yourself out of this assessment. But you're just going in the same circle, in the ego circle at the comedy club, playing a game and thinking that you're making progress. But it was never the intention of the ego for you to make progress. Even though the ego has the ownership of progress, because in the truth of love, there's nothing to progress. Everything is equally all love. Everything is. Everything is permanent. Everything is infinite. Everything is forever, eternal. So the journey of love is one of letting go of a world that has been made up to camouflage and keep you from the truth of your divine self. But thank God it isn't real, and thank God that there have been so many devoted masters that have incarnated to serve love. So many devoted masters that you are never without the divine's direction, that you are never without the means to remember. Everywhere you look, if you're willing, you will see teachings. You will see the teachings of love show up everywhere around you if you're willing to accept that everything is there for the teaching, because you have given your life, your journey into the hands of the Holy Spirit and have accepted that now everything, every situation, every moment is an offering of healing. a learning. If you are willing to join with that healing and recognize the gift that is being offered in every moment. The orchestration of God's hand is in every situation when you are willing to find it there. When you're willing to give up what you know, even if it's just for a moment, to accept, I don't know how to look at this. I don't know what this is for. I don't know how to respond, and I don't know who I am. The spirit of love through all the masters, through every divine being that is God, all God, coming through all of these divine energies of love. All of the divine beings are well aware how to help you navigate the way of love as you let go of what you think you know. As long as you're holding what you think you know from the world and the past, it's basically saying, no, this is what I want. I've already chosen. But in any moment, that can be shifted. You can change your mind any moment. You can begin again every moment. Don't let the ego play the game of, well, I've made such a mess of this life or this day or this whatever. Don't let the ego have a game with that. Begin again. God sees no differences at all. Doesn't see any of this game that's being played or any of the mistakes that are being conjured up. There's no score being kept for how many times you begin again. There's no score being kept for how many days and moments have to be forgiven. Not because God is forgiving it, because there is nothing to forgive. The only purpose of forgiveness is because you have believed in something that wasn't true, and it's to forgive yourself for believing that you were anything but the light of God, or that anyone else was anything but the light of God. Only the light of God. Accept the will of God in true humility. And all you think you made will disappear. And love will take the place of all self-deception. We lay aside the arrogance which proclaims that we are damaged. We lay aside the arrogance that proclaims that we are guilty and afraid. And we lift our hearts in true humility, in surrender to our immaculate true selves. God has never rejected the truth of your divine being. Only you have rejected the truth of your divine being. That's where the humility is needed. And of course, the relationship with arrogance and humility is upside down and inside out. Completely. It is the true humility to accept your magnificent divine self and the divine self of every beloved. It is arrogance to think that you know who you are or who anyone is. Because that arrogance says, I know and God is wrong. God doesn't know, I know. That again belongs in the comedy club for no purpose. It has no truth at all. But it is a journey to humility. It absolutely is a journey to humility. There is no humility in the ego. Even when your whole identity is believing in being a victim, there's no humility. To believe you are a victim is arrogance. Because again, you are believing in something that does not exist and you are denying the truth of God. You are denying your magnificence. And that is truly arrogance. The ego only knows arrogance because the arrogance are all the lies. And humility only recognizes the truth of love. There is nothing that cannot be healed. Absolutely nothing. It doesn't matter how many incredible stories you've made up with your mind. Let them all be washed away. And let your heart be really transformed. Oh, teach me to open my heart. It is a learning. It can be spontaneously accepted, for sure. But in true humility, to ask for the help, to be taught, to recognize that you're in the schoolroom of love, and that the schoolroom of love is the only choice that we have. To recognize the schoolroom of love and to not be at the effect anymore of the meaning that we have given everything out of habit, but truly willing to surrender all the meaning that's been given to everything. Moment to moment. Is it a journey that is difficult? No. Does the mind perceive it to be difficult? Yes. Because the mind is completely resistant to love. Completely resistant. Resistance is completely of the ego. There's no resistance in God. There's nothing to resist. When you see things manifested in the world, when you perceive them, for instance, when you believe that there are illnesses and that there is a resistance to cures, that's your indicator. Resistance is only of the ego. The perception that there is a battle and that there is an illness and that there is a problem is completely the ego's domain. How to bring compassion to those beliefs is to recognize that each beloved that is living in the belief of resistance and separation, that they are truly right now and have always been the light of God. That is how you bring the power of healing to humanity. The willingness to see only the truth, the innocence, the beauty, the perfection. The willingness to accept that there are no problems. How do problems manifest? The belief is that problems are just constantly there, waiting to attack, waiting to pounce on your life. And you better stay vigilant and defended. But that's not where problems come from. Problems are actually manufactured in the mind and then seen outside. So, for a very specific reason, because every time you think that there is a problem, the use of control is activated. The belief that you have to be in control and run the show gets activated again and again and again and again. The mind has no problem coming up with a problem. Absolutely none. It's like a computer filled with problems. There's no end to it. And it's all for the purpose of believing the illusion that you need to be in control. If you accept that there is no problem, there's nothing to control. But there is so much fear that develops from the belief that if you're not in control, you are undefended. You don't have a defense system that you need and that you believe is necessary in this world of battle. That you're wanting to see the sword drop from everyone's hands, even at the height of the arc of their anger. But you have to believe in problems in order to see that anger is valid. And you have to believe that there is a problem. There's only a problem because it's painful. But that's not really a problem because that's made up too. There is no problem. The only problem is every single perception of problem that comes from the mind comes through the belief that you are separate from God, separate from all eternal life. And every problem that gets made up has only the purpose of wanting control. And that problem says, I am separate from God. But if the only problem is that you believe that you're separate from God, then you can joyously remember there is no problem because you are not separate from God. Just because you think you're separate from God doesn't make it so. Just because we have walked from incarnation through lifetime after lifetime believing that we were bodies and separate and without and living in scarcity does not make it factual. It is not. There is no problem. Can you refuse the relationship with problems? Yes, yes, you can. And you must. You must refuse to accept the habit anymore of making problems, of seeing problems, of battling with problems, of thinking about problems, of talking about problems. To surrender your belief in problems is to open the door to love. Because I promise you, as you surrender your relationship to making problems, and you are willing to accept that only love is real, that only peace and harmony are legitimate, the problems will disappear, because you will no longer be choosing problems as viable and manufacturing them. It seems like the problems are coming from outside. Absolutely, of course. If you knew from the time you were incarnated that the problems were coming from your own mind, you might stop making them pretty early. But the hoax is they're coming from out there someplace. When you hear someone outside yelling, right away, your idea is that there's a problem. You see that as real. You see it as legitimate, and you have evidence from the past that supports that. Of course, I know that that's real because I have experienced that before. In experiencing and believing in the experiences that your mind is making up, you believe that that yelling is real, you believe that that anger is real, and you adjust yourself to combating with that as being real. And you will relate to it as a problem. When someone isn't behaving as you want them to behave, you don't see that as control. You see that as righteousness. And when you see that as righteousness, you have made yourself a problem. And you believe in the problem. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. Completely self-fulfilling. And it has to be rejected. There is no problem. I am not separate from God. There is no problem. There is no death. There is no problem. There is no other. Anger does not really exist. It can be self-punishing, yes, and it isn't God's will for you to self-punish. It isn't God's will for you to suffer because it's for nothing. It has no purpose. It has no reality in love. God's will for you is joy and peace because it's who you are. And it's that acceptance that you step out of the arrogance of the ego and refuse to dance with problems any longer, or what you believe to be a problem. Is this a journey of choice? Yes, it is. Yes, it is. It's to choose. Every time the mind wants to go into making some problem, refusing the problem. Not out of la la land, but in, no, this is not of God. I want to see it in the truth of love. I want to see only with love. And I promise you, you will see it with love. Maybe not immediately, because there's a tenacity of habit that is and can be vicious. Because the ego is going to keep presenting it to you until finally it goes, oh, really, she or he is not changing their mind. This isn't being accepted anymore. As the divine Yogananda affirmed, when the guest is no longer welcome, the guest will leave. Do not give welcome to your mind's making of problems. Do not make welcome the belief that there is a battle. Do not make welcome the temptation of making problems, but recognize them for what they are. When you put every situation into the hands of God, the divine love and light will reveal to you what is most helpful in that moment. When you surrender every situation into the hands of God and truly refuse to accept it as a problem any longer, the Holy Spirit will bring the truth and show you the way. Is the mind tenacious? Yes, the mind is tenacious. But again, when the guest is no longer welcome, the guest will leave. When there is no more fodder, when there's no more playing with the illusion drops away. When you surrender everything that you think you know into the hands of God and truly want to see it with peace and joy and to see it differently, you will. God will not leave you without. To be vigilant for love. Accept the will of God. Thy will be done, which is your true will, because you are the divine creation. When you accept the will of God, you are accepting your true will, not the will of the made-up self. Accept the will of God in true humility, and all you think you made will disappear, including all the concepts of problems, which are so habitual and so addictive. Everybody likes the image of themselves holding a sword and battling, thinking that they're going to conquer something. No, there's nothing to conquer. There's just the acceptance of love. All you think you made will disappear as you join the will of God, and love will take the place of self-deception, because love is what is there. Love is the truth of who you are. Love is your light. Love is your divine self. And it has nothing to do with the illusion that's been made up in the belief of separation. Nothing at all. And there is no battle, and there is no problem. No problem. We lay aside the arrogance which proclaims that we are damaged, accepting that this is arrogance, to refute the truth of God and believe our evidence that we've made up. We lay aside the arrogance which proclaimed that we were guilty, or that anyone is guilty of anything, because guilt does not exist in God. Guiltlessness is love. Guilt never was. It's totally fabricated. We want it to be real so that we can appease our own guilt in the belief of guilt. No one is guilty. Guilt does not exist. We lay aside the arrogance which proclaimed that fear was real. The arrogance in which we proclaimed that fear was real. That we could be without. That someone could take something from us. That we could be unfairly treated in any way. Letting go of all of that arrogance and accepting the will of God. To accept with humility. To lift our hearts. Lifting your hearts in true humility. In surrender to our immaculate true selves. Thy will be done. Accepting the light of love that is within. And that is everything that exists, all life, the beauty and equality of God. No exceptions. Let the bodies fall away. They all will within time. And your divine spirit will continue because your divine spirit is the light of God. Let your spirit dance. Let your spirit sing. Let your spirit express joy. Let your spirit offer love. Only love is real. One heart. Only one.